Hello and hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing? I've been waiting a while to react to this one because I always try to wait a year, at least a year after a video is uploaded. And this looks really interesting. Germany's green city. More bikes than cars. Wow, America could never. My American brain just can't fathom it. It's from Not Just Bikes, which is like, I'm sure you know this channel. It's a legendary channel. It's a huge channel. Check them out, link down below. So I already know it's going to be a good video. Let's do it.
This is Freiburg im Breisgau, a city in the
Freiburg.
Black Forest.
Shout out to anyone from Freiburg. Oh my god, I have to burp.
It's often...
You guys are welcome for cutting that burp out. That was disgusting.
referred to as Germany's Green City. It's a city with more than twice as many bicycles as cars and over 400 kilometers of bicycle lanes. It's a city with a lot of trams and amazing pedestrian.
Look at all the cobblestone roads. That's really all I can fixate on. I mean, even the fact that there's like arrows and paintings on the cobblestone. I mean, I don't see very many cobblestone roads at all here in America, but the ones I do see, I feel like I've never seen an arrow painted on one. That's the most random thing in the world, but that's just what I'm thinking.
Pedestrianized streets. Over the past few decades, Freiburg has become a leader in modern, sustainable urban...
Is that a bridge just for bicycles?
...development.
Unbelievable.
And they're building an absolutely amazing city in the process.
Wow. That was a cool intro slide thing.
Germany is well known for its car industry and autobahns, but Freiburg is different. This is a city where cars do not rule. Freiburg is a...
That's actually an interesting point. Isn't this like... It's like counterproductive to the German economy. Come on, Freiburg. You got to buy up all the German cars. What the hell?
University town, and around 10% of the population attends the university. So obviously you see a lot of students cycling to and from.
Look at the amount of bicycles. I would think this was like a show. Like over here in America, I'm sure you guys do as well. We have car shows. People park their cars. You know, everybody brings their nice cars, park them, pop the hood. That's what I would think this is. It's a bicycle show.
School. And a lot of bicycles parked outside the university. But you
how do you even get yours? If you're
to
parked
and from school. And
if you're in here, how do you even get it out?
A lot of bicycles parked outside the university. But you also see a lot of cargo bikes and families, a key indicator that Freiburg has a very advanced bicycle culture. The old town in the center of Freiburg is a wonderful place to be. There's old architecture alongside the new, and the streets are beautiful too. Isn't this amazing? I even managed to film two trams going
that is stunning
through here at once. Appreciate my patience and good timing.
I do.
Everywhere you look, there are trams, people cycling, and lots of people of all ages.
Have I seen a single car? I don't think so. Oh my gosh.
Out enjoying themselves.
Look at the network of tram things. What are these called? These things that power the trams. Look at that. Whoa.
There are nice, narrow streets and lots of outdoor patios. The city center is almost entirely pedestrianized, so of course, it's very quiet.
And it's a bunch of German people walking around. You know, if it was American, you would just hear... I don't know what that was, but...
Yet another reminder that cities aren't loud.
You know what I'm trying to say.
Cars are loud.
And Americans.
And when you do see the occasional car, it looks comically out of place with so many people around.
It almost looks like it's not meant to be there, yeah. And like it's driving on a sidewalk right now.
The city center has these open water channels, and it's said if you fall in one, you're destined to marry someone from Freiburg. But the best part is that kids actually make boats to sail on the water.
Well, of course they do. What else would you do in that thing? I mean, that's amazing. That would be so much fun.
Isn't this just one of the most...
Looks like it's straight out of It. Stephen King's It.
...wholesome things you've ever seen? This is so much fun. I was lucky enough to meet
I'm sold, you know? On all the bicycle stuff and the trams, that's cool. But the boats and that little thing, I like that even more. What am I looking at here?
up with Ashton from the YouTube channel Type Ashton while I was in town. She and her family are from the US, but they loved Freiburg so much that they decided to stay in Germany.
Look at the German pretzel. Aha. You want to talk about what I'm really jealous of? It's that right there.
They decided to stay in Germany permanently. Ashton has great videos on her channel about everything from macroeconomics to microurbanism, and she talks a lot about the differences between the US and Germany. I'll leave a link to her channel below. And of course, she's also an expert in Freiburg, which was great for my first trip here to this amazing city. Seriously.
An expert in Freiburg.
The Freiburg Old Town is one of the nicest places I've ever been to. So you might be thinking, okay, this is an old medieval city, but actually it's not what you might think. Sure, Freiburg was originally founded in the year 1120, but most of Freiburg was left.
I want to see one of these trams like slam to a stop.
This is an old medieval city, but actually,
Because obviously I understand people aren't stupid, so they're not just going to walk out in front of a tram. But the flip side is there are a lot of actually very stupid people, let's be honest. And someone's going to walk out in front of a tram and probably push their baby out in front of one too. So how quickly can it stop?
it's not
They don't go very fast, which is smart.
what you might think. Sure, Freiburg was originally founded in the year 1120, but most of Freiburg was leveled in World War II, which was the case for many cities in Europe, of course.
Yeah.
But what was truly unique about Freiburg is that when they rebuilt it, they made it similar to what it used to be instead of being rebuilt for cars. So remarkably, pretty much everything you see here is less than 75 years old. Unfortunately, the rest of the city was not so lucky. It's commonly said in Freiburg that the war destroyed 80% of the city and cars destroyed the other 20%.
They say that? Oh my god.
Outside of
It is kind of interesting, the dichotomy in Germany, you know, between how much you guys love cars and then what he just said, that the cars killed their city.
the city center, neighborhoods were built.
I've just never, I've never been to a city that wasn't centered around cars, so I can't even imagine.
With that car-centric vision of modernity that was common across the world in the 1960s. This road just outside of the city center used to be a narrow street, just like the rest, with several popular beer gardens and restaurants. But they were all destroyed to build the ring road. The 1960s
Damn cars!
really were the decade of destroy stuff to build roads, and we're still paying for those decisions today.
Wow.
It was only very recently that activists were finally successful in getting a car lane removed to build this totally insufficient bicycle lane.
You call that insufficient? Oh my god. Over here in America, this would be considered, what's the opposite of insufficient? A surplus of bike lane.
This area will likely never return to its original beauty, and it's entirely because of car infrastructure.
Damn.
Ironically, the center of Freiburg, though rebuilt in the style of the original city, was completely overrun by cars and asphalt. Look at this difference between this footage from 1973 and how it looks today. This pedestrian square used to be a parking lot. Now, parking for the city center is in garages on the periphery. There were several key decisions that put Freiburg on the right path and avoided the destruction that comes from making a place car-friendly. In 1972, the city voted to keep its tram network. This had a massive
Tram network is really fascinating to me because I don't think I've ever been on a tram.
impact on the Freiburg we see.
Apart from like in an airport, does that count? Or like at a frickin', I don't know, does Disney World have a tram?
Today. There's one consistent thing I've seen in cities all over the world. Every city that retained its tram network has better urbanism than any nearby city that didn't. But Freiburg went a step further and actually expanded its tram network through the 80s and 90s.
I'm also just fascinated. Do you have trams that go through grass? Who mows the grass? What if the tram mowed the grass? I think that's $1 billion idea. What if you strap a lawnmower to the front of the tram?
While other European cities were removing theirs. The first part of the city center was pedestrianized in 1973, and once the cars were removed, the city center became a successful business district with a popular market that is still active today. The market surrounds this beautiful cathedral, and it's one of the genuine highlights of the city center. And of course, this used to be a parking lot too. In the 1970s, there was a
So it is possible to go back. To go back from a car-centric design and go back to people walking around.
growing environmental movement that protested any developments that would destroy the neighboring Black Forest. This kept the city more compact than most cities that were built or rebuilt for the automobile after the war. In 2002, Freiburg elected the first Green Party mayor in Germany, and since then, Freiburg has become the model for sustainable city development in Europe. One great example of this is Vauban, a suburb completed in the early 2000s that was designed to be environmentally friendly from the start.
This is a suburb.
The buildings here were built to a very high energy efficiency standard, and you see solar panels on roofs and balconies all over the neighborhood. Some of these buildings even
This just is not what a suburb looks like in my brain.
generate more energy
Like at all.
than they consume. The neighborhood was built on the location of a former military base, and some of the apartments were built from the original barracks. One really unique element is that many of these apartment buildings are collectively owned. A group
Oh yeah, and what's unique is that one's got bubbles on it, or planets.
really unique element is together and build an apartment building themselves instead of buying units from a developer. Today, the majority of residents in
Wow, those are beautiful.
Vauban live in housing cooperatives or social housing developments. When Vauban was first built, only about half of households owned a car, but remarkably, that
Somehow this looks like Japan to me, or Vietnam.
number has actually decreased, especially after the tram line was completed in 2006. Today, the
Just that one part.
vast majority of households in Vauban do not have a car, and there are only about 170 motor vehicles per
What?
1,000 inhabitants.
What? $170 per 1,000? It's like 1 out of 8. I mean, some of those people are babies as well, so you got to factor that in. But oh my God, what is fake London?
I wonder if these old clunkers count towards that number. You don't have to walk around very long to realize that a lot of people get around here by cycling. Even though this is a suburb on the
I've never seen these in my life in person. It's so cool to see those in these videos.
edge of the city. The neighborhood makes extensive use of modal filters, allowing people walking or cycling
I mean, you almost... I have basically never seen a bicycle with a cargo thing, like a basket. Basically never.
to pass through while being off limits to cars.
Bicycles are only road... Like, people ride bicycles around here just as an exercise. That's it.
This is exactly the same method that the Netherlands uses to discourage car traffic, especially through traffic in residential neighborhoods. This makes the streets of Vauban very safe for children, and you see lots of kids out on their own.
I didn't even think about that.
And some of the streets here are designated as play streets.
What?
This neighborhood has one of the highest percentage of
Look at this cute little playground.
children in all of Germany, which isn't that surprising because places without cars are better for kids. Vauban is also very well served by transit. On the west side is a transit station with tram and bus stops connecting residents to other parts of the city. But the tram line also runs along the whole side of the neighborhood, making it easily accessible to everyone who lives here.
Wow.
This should be the model used to design new suburbs everywhere.
I forgot we're in the suburbs. This feels like the city center to me. You know, like this is way more public transportation than in the center of the city where I live.
Unfortunately,
Let
not
alone the suburb. You can't even get an Uber driver to get you out here in the suburbs.
all neighborhoods in Freiburg are as well designed as Vauban. So you'll see other districts with streets lined with parked cars.
That's a little bit facetious. You might be able to get an Uber driver. Maybe.
And it always annoys me when cars are supposed to be parked on the sidewalk. Because while Freiburg spent only a few decades building car-centric infrastructure, those places still remain, as it takes many decades to repair that kind of damage. But you can see some of those repairs taking place, with extra space being given back to people who walk and cycle. There is, of course, a lot of bicycle infrastructure in Freiburg.
I just gotta appreciate. I always do, but I will continue to forever appreciate the markings on the roads in Germany. Look how clean and crisp and beautiful even this big red swatch. Just pristine.
Including many curb-protected bicycle paths. Unfortunately, even major intersections are totally unprotected, designed in the Copenhagen style as opposed to using
Oh, I thought this looked amazing.
much safer Dutch designs. And there are still many painted bicycle gutters
Is that good or bad?
and dangerous merge lanes on busy roads.
Oh, that's bad. Here in America, that would be awesome. But in Germany, that's like, eh.
So clearly, there are still opportunities for improvement. But many of the streets in Freiburg have so little car traffic that dedicated bicycle infrastructure is not required. And some of these have been designated as bicycle streets, where people cycling can use the whole street and drivers need to yield to bikes. And it's always great to see parking spaces converted to outdoor seating for local restaurants.
What? How smart is that? That's pretty nifty. In America, you could never. Can't even fathom that. There aren't enough parking spots to begin with. Not even close. Not even close to enough parking spots in the city. Wait, are we in the suburbs still? I don't know. But just in general, not enough parking spots in the city. So you could never eat in one. You'd probably be shot.
Now, there's a lot that's been
Get out of the parking spot!
written about the cycling infrastructure in Freiburg, but I actually think the tram network is one of the city's best features. Freiburg refers to its tram system as a Stadtbahn instead of a Straßenbahn, the usual German word for tram. This is because they consider it to be better, with separated tracks, traffic light priority, and a higher average speed than most tram systems. The trams in Freiburg are very modern, with level boarding at tram stops, making the system very accessible, though there are still some older trams that have yet to be replaced.
Ew, old trams. That I'm hugely jealous of. That is incredible. I just can't imagine just being able to hop on and off a tram to get around the city. That's kind of like magical. It's pretty awesome. Here in America, I mean, you gotta be like, okay, where did we park our car? It's 3 blocks away in a parking garage on the 3rd floor. Let's take an Uber. Take an Uber to the car. And then we gotta get out of the parking garage.
The tram network covers most of the city and even goes out to several suburbs. And the current planning rules state that new housing cannot be built unless it's within.
You know what our best attempt at public transport here is in America? Hold on, I'm pulling them up. Hold on. These right here, guys. You'll just see these lined up in cities, and they're not like public infrastructure. It's a private company. Then you rent these scooters. They are fun. I won't lie. They're fun. It's better than cars, right? Maybe. Problem is a bunch of hooligans take them and throw them and You'll find them like in the dumpster or like. That's not normal though. I mean, for the most part, it is what it is. Definitely not giving you exercise though.
In walking
That's our public transportation.
distance of a tram line. I didn't even cycle while I was in Freiburg because if I have a choice between cycling and taking a tram, I will take a tram. I was able to get everywhere I wanted
Typical American attitude.
to go, and I never had to wait very long for
Just kidding, me too.
a tram either. Because the trams have a signal priority and a dedicated lane for most of their
It feels like we're cheating. Like, this is weird. It's like off-roading in a tram. We're just driving down the median.
routes, getting around by tram is extremely quick and efficient. And there are so many grassy tram tracks here. I love grassy tram tracks. Also, I like the new tram and bus station at
I
Europaplatz
didn't know they existed, but I love them now, too.
with chargers for the electric buses.
Electric buses.
And the roof of this station is covered in solar panels. In fact, the entire tram network, as well as all of these electric buses, are run off of renewable energy because, of course, they are. Freiburg is
The whole thing is powered by solar panels? Is that what he just said? Like, I get that they, at the very least, they supplement the power grid, but is the whole thing powered by solar panel? That would be incredible.
not a sprawling city, so it's very easy to get out into the Black Forest. We heard there was a great view from a cable car nearby, so we set off to visit. We took tram 2 out to the end of the line in the south, where we picked up a bus. We had to walk all the
You picked up that bus? Looks pretty heavy.
way from the tram right here. This is so great. I know this is just a silly, trivial
Windmills. Look at the windmills. Sorry, I just felt like triggering half the people watching.
trip to a tourist attraction,
Wind turbines, okay? I get it, I understand.
and this trip doesn't really matter at all.
It's a windmill. But it's a wind turbine.
But this is the way public transit should be everywhere. Not just for the center of the city, not just for commuting, but for all kinds of trips that someone might want to take. Now, the weather wasn't the best, but the view from the gondola was nice. And when we got back, the tram was waiting for us.
How is it just waiting there for you? I don't get that.
Freiburg's
How many are there?
train station is centrally located, though
McDonald's!
not very pretty. We got here by train, by the way.
Did he say that wasn't pretty? I guess it's not pretty.
And while the
Looks pretty nice, though.
road
Look at the freaking bicycles.
directly outside of the station
These people had to put their bikes up in a
Station is-
tree.
is not as nice as it should be, there is a separate area above the station where you can board a tram and go into the old town without interacting with any cars at all. Or you can pick up a bike share bike to continue your journey into the city.
That's cool.
And there are clearly a lot of people who cycle here. And if you need to access the other side of the city, this walking and cycling bridge will take you over the train tracks, which
It is a walking and cycling only bridge. That's so wild. Does this mean... Oh my god, I need to brush up on my European street signs. I was getting really good at them. Isn't this a speed limit sign, but it's got 2 cars inside it? Does that mean 9 tons? What the hell? I don't know what these signs mean.
also used to be a car bridge until 1996 because, of course, it was. I prefer it like this.
Well, we know you do. Just kidding. But, I mean, it's pretty clear. He prefers bikes over cars.
And now it leads directly to this bicycle parking garage for the train station.
What did he say?
And now it leads directly to this bicycle parking garage
Bicycle parking garage.
for the train station.
You're kidding.
Freiburg is a highly desirable city that is sustainable both environmentally and financially,
This tram has a fake wheels on it.
and with great
They never pop.
public transport. It's a beautiful place that's safe for children, accessible to all kinds of people, and enjoyable
Oh my god, this lady almost just risked her whole life for what?
to be in. And yet,
Isn't jaywalking faux pas in Germany? Or was that not jaywalking? I guess since it's pedestrian centric
for children,
that's not jaywalking.
accessible to all kinds of people, and enjoyable to be in. And yet, it's not thousands of years old. Every one of us probably knows someone who is older than the Freiburg city center, which really does make you wonder, why can't we build more places like this? It's not like it's lost knowledge. We know how to build like this, and we know people like being in places like this.
That's a tough question. I mean, over where I live, it is an interesting thing because like they built a bike lane, for instance, on a pretty major road here where I live, which is pretty unusual. There's not a lot of bike lanes at all. So they added a bike lane. They reduced it from a 2-lane car road to a 1-lane, bigger lane, and now a bike lane. No, I've never seen anybody riding their bike down that lane. And it's like, well, kind of makes sense because it's just one road. Yeah, you made one bike lane on one road. People around here don't have the bikes. I mean, people have bikes, but they're like sport bikes. They're mountain bikes. Like I said, you know, which that would work, but and actually most adults don't have a bike. Every kid has a bike, but once you get a car, most adults no longer will own a bike, which is kind of sad, but that is the way that it is. So, it's kind of like a vicious cycle. I mean, I don't know. You have to reach a certain threshold where the network effects start working together. You know what I mean? Not enough people have bikes. Not enough of the roads have a bike lane. So how do you do it? How do you add a bike lane to a road? It's just a waste of a space right now because nobody uses it. But if you add enough of them, then all of a sudden maybe people will start getting bicycles and maybe it'll start all working.
This is what the sustainable city of the future should look like. Not a place with wide roads and self-driving cars, but a human-sized city with clean and efficient public transportation and streets that are safe enough for everyone.
Even dogs.
Over the past few years,
okay, what was that person riding on?
Streets that are safe enough for everyone.
Does that house like children? That's freaking cool.
Over the past few years, Freiburg has become very well.
Damn. Dude. You really just gonna roll your suitcase out in front of someone on their bicycle, like without even a second freaking... I mean, he looks right at her and says, I'm walking. Is that rude or not? I don't know. I don't know the etiquette. It feels rude.
Very well known by urban planners in Europe, and many planners and politicians come here to learn about sustainable urban development, which is great because as far as I'm concerned, the more
maybe it's not rude.
Cities that copy Freiburg, the better.
It does look pretty sick.
If you're
shout out to Freiburg.
A fan of car-free places, you might enjoy my video.
And they got the most amazing fries too at the McDonald's.
About Zermatt, a car-free town in the Swiss Alps. I'll put a link to that video down below, which you can watch now, but
look how freaking stunning.
Only on Nebula. Nebula
only
is
on Nebula. Check out Nebula. Check out Not Just Bikes. That was an excellent video, per usual. The man loves bikes, and I don't blame him. What a beautiful place, Freiburg. Thank you for watching. That was very cool. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.